Today, let's go through the single arm elbow lever or croc position. So that's where we balance like this, we open up and we lift this hand up in the air. Now I'm going to show progressions towards this skill and then even how we can take it up to handstand and back down again. Before we get started, just make sure that you have done a quick warm up, at least for your wrists. So just put the fingers together, glue the forearms together, do some circles. Just make sure the wrists and the hands feel nice and happy. If they don't, do a longer warm up, add some hang-in, do full body mobility, and make sure the body's nice and ready. Okay, so all we're gonna do to start with is we're gonna get used to externally rotating the hands. So externally rotating, now notice what happens with the elbows. They come in towards the midline, so they're coming in towards my hips. From there, I can walk around like this. That feels funny. I'm hunching over, and then I'm going to place the hands on the floor. Hips in, elbows in towards the hips, and then I'm just going to see if I take my knees out to the side, if I can hover off the floor. Now, if you struggle with that one, you might need to adjust the elbow position and make sure it's going in towards the crease of the hip, but also make sure that you're not blocking yourself with your legs and keeping too much weight backwards like this. This is really common because we're scared of going forwards and we don't want to face plant. So make sure when you do it, you take the knees a little bit wider, get the elbows right into the hip crease, and then extend the shoulders away a little bit so you can get into that position. It might take a little bit to get the sweet spot where you can flow, but that's what we're aiming for. Now the good news is the single arm position is actually much easier to get into than the double arm position, just because you have a lot more space. So now I'm going to externally rotate the hands, but I'm going to have them wider apart this time. So outside my shoulder position, I'm going to go up onto my toes, so off the knees, and then I'm going to walk around, opening the body up to a push-up position. And as I do that, I'm pushing my elbow in towards my midline, and then I'm just going to try and lay down on top of my elbow. I'm not putting too much weight into it. I just want to check the position where my elbow is on top of my hand. If it's this way, if it's this way, if it's that way, it's going to feel horrible. What I want to happen is when I'm there, is that the elbow is directly on top of the hand. So I do that there, and then I'm going to walk all the way around, do the same thing on the opposite side. So check that's lined up again, elbow on top of the hand. And I can put a little bit of weight there now and then go back. And I can do that for repetitions. I could do longer hold times there, just starting to feel like I'm getting comfortable in that position. I can start to play around with adding a little bit more weight onto the elbow. Now, one thing I need to think about here is what I'm doing to my stomach, what I'm doing to my core. If I push in with my finger into the side of the stomach there, if I contract my abs so it pushes my finger back out, so I'm like tensing my stomach, that's what we want to do just before we put the elbow into that position. So I'm going to tense the stomach, and then now it doesn't hurt when I push the finger into it. If I leave that switched off, elbow or the finger is going to sink into my organs and it's not going to feel very nice. So I want to do the opposite. I want to push out and stop anything going in there. Now notice that I'm doing it now, but I'm also holding a conversation. So that's where I want to get to. So it's not like this, so I'm not holding it too tight where I can't talk. I want it just enough so it creates a stronger platform to place the elbow onto. And now I'm going to practice that. So I'm going to go back to that position again, externally rotate the hand so it makes the elbow come in easier. I'm going to walk around. Now tense the stomach a little bit just before I put the elbow on. Now when I'm there, if that feels okay, I can increase the load. I can even lift one leg, I can lift two legs. Still got a little bit of weight in the hand. I can do the opposite and lift this hand. Then I just go around to the other side, exactly the same thing. Find that position, turn the abs on, see if I can lift the feet up. Then if that all feels okay, I'd now recommend you video from the side and check that elbow position is in line with the hand. You'll feel it if it's not in the right place. It will feel horrible both in the wrist, the elbow and the stomach, and it will just feel like your body position is collapsing. But if it feels good, we can move to the next step. So the next step is go back to exactly the same position. I'm now going to extend this hand further away. So I've got weight in the toes and this hand, make sure I'm nice and comfortable in that position. I'm now going to lift up both feet, lift the shoulders up, and now look, I can go up onto 5 fingers, 4 fingers, 2 fingers, 1 finger, and then lift even higher. And if it feels okay, I can start to hop that finger up and even start to lift and hold there. Now, obviously you might not be able to get that straight away, but you'll be able to get to a certain point. Now, what that certain point you get to is going to be where you want to spend some time for sets and reps and make yourself more comfortable, more conditioned, stronger in that position, find more of the sweetest spot for the balance. And as you progress with it session to session, you're going to get lighter on the fingers, go down to 2, 1 finger, and even start to lift the hand. Just be careful when you do lift the hand that you don't throw it up in the air and create a shock wave that goes through the system, and then you fall off your sweet spot. Now, if you have a strong handstand and an eccentric handstand push-up, you can start to put it all together. So I could be in my handstand position, it could be straight, it could be frogged, it could be straddle. And then from there, I go my eccentric handstand push-up. But when I get closer to the bottom, I start to move over, bring the elbow in, and then find that position. Whoops. So there's a good example that I didn't bring my torso or my body across onto the elbow enough. So when I went to lift this hand, I felt heavy backwards towards the underbalance. So if I repeat that again, so finding the sweet spot is obviously harder when you lower to it. So that's better. Now I can feel I'm more in the middle and I can lift up. But obviously the stronger your handstand is, the stronger your eccentric handstand push-up, the more you can pause and the more room for error you have in your croc position, your elbow lever position, the easier it's going to be to find that sweet spot. If you only have a small window of balance in all of those things, it's going to be really tricky to do that in one movement. Now, if you're strong enough, you can try transferring from side to side without going all the way up into the handstand. So I start in that croc position. It could be any position. So there. Then I transfer weight forwards, up and over, and find the one on the other side and do the same thing. And that's just a case of knowing how far forwards to go. So head and shoulders have to go down and the hips and the legs have to come up at the same time. So you stay balanced throughout the transition. And then you can start to make longer combos if you have the handstand push-ups and the balances on both sides. So you would start in your croc, elbow lever position, find the balance, push up to your handstand, come back down to croc on the other side, and then you can do a low transfer to finish. So it's a fun movement with lots of different levels. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions with this one. Reach out if you're interested in coaching, www.paultwyman.com.au, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.